So we're going to do prolonged loneliness. Genetics actually plays a part in loneliness too. So if you had a lonely parent, it's sometimes handed down through our genes because we inherit our parents' feelings, right? Which came to the forefront during COVID of just how lonely people are because a lot of people were so engaged in going here and doing this activity and workaholic and doing this and that. But when they were forced to stay at home, they had to look at themselves. So it is now we know is an epidemic. So we aren't alone here. So it is a health hazard. And even the US Surgeon General says that loneliness, this came out in 2023, that loneliness is the same as smoking 15 cigarettes a day, and you can die from it. So we know that belonging, you can write this down if you want, belonging is a fundamental human need. If we don't feel that we belong anywhere, then loneliness can develop. So I want to talk about specific groups that are vulnerable to loneliness. For now, just write down if you belong to any one of these groups. So there's the elderly due to either loss of their loved one, reduced social circles, because I know from every older person that I know, they're watching they're reading the obituaries, they're losing friends more often as you get older. There's limitations because of not driving anymore. And so that restricts their social interaction. That's why pets are really good for older people. Then there's those that divorced, widowed, or broke up with someone. These groups experience loneliness, sometimes temporary, but if it's significant enough in their lifestyle change and it's distressful enough, this can lead to loneliness because of what they're going through. Sometimes other people don't understand. They're kind of there for them, but not really. So this drastically affects their mental health, increasing the risk of health issues. There's adolescents and young adults, and despite being digitally connected, their loneliness starts from a lack of face-to-face interaction. Then there's immigrants and refugees. Obviously, it's lonely because it's a drastic cultural change, language barriers, and they're separated from their family, and they have difficulty integrating into a new environment. And sometimes these environments are less inclusive, as a pagan person might feel, right? Then there's the LGBTQ community. They may face loneliness due to social stigma, discrimination, lack of acceptance. And then there's some that aren't, but they're all going to go through it somehow. Then there's the caregivers, those that are looking after other people, whether it's a sick person or an elderly parent or a disabled family member. They experience isolations because of the demanding responsibilities put on them and the lack of time for social connections. Then there's remote workers. These they're working in a remote place, so they get feelings of isolation. They miss their spouse, they miss their family, or they miss out on daily interactions with people So you have deeper conversations. It's all superficial work stuff. That's not healthy. And then there's military personnel and veterans or their children. That's frequent relocations, deployment, transitioning to civilian life also can disrupt social networks and foster loneliness. And then there's college students. That's just transitioning to college life. Maybe you're in a dorm now, and there's often those people are away from home for the first time. And that can leave them feeling isolated in an unfamiliar environment and the pressures of school and conforming and finding friends and so on, because it's harder to find friends as we get older. New parents have a baby, they have new responsibilities, they have sleep deprivation, they have lifestyle adjustments. Definitely can lead to loneliness, especially if you don't have any friends with other kids. Recently unemployed, so the loss of daily interaction on a structured schedule. Now you have no structured schedule. That can also lead to loneliness, particularly if there's a stigma attached to the unemployment. You're looked down upon, can't find work. And 11, people that are constantly exposed to stressful situations. So this could be childhood bullying, again, moving place to place, feeling isolated or different from your belief system, domestic abuse, parents pushing you because of their high profile appearance. So you're always having to put up appearances, or career pressure at work can cause that too, just constantly being stressed out from the constant demands at work. And then there's identity and self-esteem. So like if you've lost your who you are and you've tied yourself to being Mrs. So-and-so, or you've tied yourself to that job title, or you've tied yourself to, I am this, I am a mom, I am this, I am that, and you lose that, that is very stressful. So we have to learn not to tie ourselves to an identity. And then your self-esteem, well, if that's just chipped away from childhood or already gone from childhood, we are very susceptible to loneliness. And then there's lastly, loss of a primary relationship. So again, I did touch on divorce or breakup, but I didn't go into the details, and that could be loss of shared social circles, because now you can't hang around with the same people that your ex hung around with. So you might have lost some friends, or you're both invited to different things, emotional distress. Just the end of the relationship is turmoil because you're adjusting, as you were even talking about today. And it's compounded. But the important thing is that we have to get your social circles bigger, even if you have a spouse, because one spouse does not fill all of your needs. Nobody can do that. Nobody should be expected to do that. And it just makes it you less confident to seeking interaction and difficulty reaching out. So the lack of having existing friendships makes it harder and harder. The longer you go on and prolong this, makes it more difficult. Because as I said, the older we get, or the longer this has happened, loneliness, it builds an energy. They can grow and they will attract other energies that are the same. And so it's like it builds up and then you wear it heavy on your shoulder. It's a black cloak of negativity.